Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by FireXFred. We today have a special treat. Actually, it's pretty much the same as any other cast, but some pretty great players today coming in. Here in the left of the Lost Temple is Rock's Kiss Bradok. I'm gonna call him Bradok. Looks like Braddock, but often I see it with an underscore between the Brat and the OK. So I'm gonna go ahead and call him Bradok. And over here as our red Protoss buddy we have DuckloadRa, aka White Raw, aka an awesome European Ukrainian player, aka awesome fan favorite. Everybody loves DuckloadRa. As JP would say, we have the evil mustard color over here and the evil ketchup color over on this side. That guy's pretty great. JP McDaniel. You can check him out on YouTube. He's doing a bunch of great new shows involving StarCraft related things. Lots of good stuff. Interviews with the pros / lessons with the pros. His channel is youtube.com/itmejp if you want to check him out. Some really great stuff coming in from him over there. Pretty standard stuff. Let's take a look at the production tab. Gateway coming down. Pretty normal timing. I believe that was either 12 or a 13. That's pretty standard either way. A little bit of scouting coming out. Neither person knows where their opponent is at this point, but soon enough they will know. Pros being transferred over into the gas. This gas already up for Brad. Okay. See what he's going to do with that barracks. He's going to get out a marine, and the standard command center being morphed in to an orbital command. That is very standard stuff. Cybernetics core going down, also very standard. Let's take a look at the map and the positions. It is Lost Temple, the infamous Lost Temple. They're actually not in close positions, so it's quite a long way to go from one of their bases all the way around. You have to go all the way through the middle, all the way down, and around to this side. It is quite the distance, in fact. So that's going to make it nice for anyone who's going to try and defend and expand early. It's going to make it a little bit harder to pressure earlier, which a lot of the times Terran will want to pressure the Protoss earlier because their units are, in general, a little bit better in the beginning of the game. As it goes on and you take up to Colossus and Templar and such, it becomes a little bit easier for the Protoss to deal with it. At this point in the game though, say you're relying on sentries to block off your ramp here, you could make one mistake and then that's pretty much the game. That's what Terran, I like to think, that's what all Terran players live for. They're just waiting for their Protoss buddies to make mistakes so they can just pounce on them and punish them for being, human. Anyway, enough of that. I guess not all Terran players are actually terrible. And wow, DuckloadRa actually putting down a very quick expansion. So apparently he's not worried about any early pressure. He knows that he can hold off anything that's going to come at him. Apparently from what he's seen, he knows what is going on with Brad OK. So, and Duckload does. Let's see, there's a little battle going on here. A couple of 4 Marines against a Zealot and a Stalker. This Zealot-Stalker combination is actually pretty good because that Zealot can take so much damage, and the Stalker and Zealot are actually going to take out 4 Marines. Some great micro. Only taking 5 points of damage on the whole, actually, for that Stalker. So the rest of that, those shields are going to regenerate, and he's going to be just fine. Brad, okay, doesn't know that this expansion is down here yet, but he will know soon enough. And let's take a look at what Duckload sees in the main base. He just sees 1 barracks, so he obviously knows that something else has happened since then. He can only assume. Brad OK is going to scout out that Nexus, and meanwhile we have 2 gateways and a Rolo going down, and we have that Infernal Pre-Igniter almost done. See that upgrade coming down here from this factory. Those Hellions are going to have that blue flame, even though that picture is very misleading on the Infernal Pre-Igniter. They actually have that currently, and it's going to be blue. Not sure why that picture is there, it's pretty silly. And a command center going down for Brad OK. but really a lot later than this DuckloadRa expansion. This DuckloadRa expansion is already starting to get about halfway saturated, and a couple units poking out here. You're going to try and take this Zelnaga tower, and they're going to see those units coming in right there. The Marine Sandwich coming in. These stalkers or these sentries actually are going to be able to do decent amount of damage. Oh, but these Blue Flame Hellions are going to be able to do so much damage to this exact unit composition, both light units. So these Hellions are actually doing 24 damage versus light, a huge amount. These stalkers are probably going to be able to clean up these Hellions, but quite a big loss actually for DuckloadRa. And this Hellion is going to be able to get in. He looks like he's going to be able to get into the main. How many kills is he going to get? He already has 1 kill right now. Let's see how many he's going to get. He has 1. Probes coming in for a citizen arrest. 3 kills. I believe he got a total of 3 kills. One of those being a sentry or a zealot. So 2 probe kills. Let's take a look at that harvester gun. Actually, wow, 36 harvesters for DuckloadRa. He has been constantly producing those, constantly chrono boosting them to really be able to get immensely ahead of Brad OK. Brad OK does have a similar, or he will have a similar income once he drops a couple of mules from this newly formed orbital command that's about to appear in a couple of seconds. But right now Duckload is just incredibly ahead, so let's take a look at the army tabs actually. And he's also ahead in the army by just a little bit, so really DuckloadRa taking a huge advantage. Those Blue Flame Hellions were really not doing as much as Brad OK would have hoped, I can only assume. A couple of Hellions coming over this way, a couple of Hellions, a few Marauders, and 2 Marines coming in to see what sort of damage they can do. Meanwhile, those observers going to scout out everything for DuckloadRa, and meanwhile he has a Twilight Council going down as this engagement in the middle might occur, and a Warp Prism coming in, so we could see some nice warping in coming in from DuckloadRa. I'm excited to see what he's going to do with that. And Brad OK decides to pull back, deciding it's not worth it. Leaves that 1 Marine to die a horrible death, and these Hellions over here, I'm not quite sure what they're there for. I wonder if he just forgot about them, or if they're there for a specific purpose, rather. This observer right here is going to be able to probably just follow this army, see what Brad OK is doing all the time. And Warp Prism coming in with 4 zealots. So we got to make sure we look at what that's going to be. But meanwhile, Brad OK is going to try and take out these rocks, going for the gold expansion at some point. He knows he wants to do that, and DuckloadRa does see this, so that's going to make this Warp Prism even more effective. These 4 zealots might be able to get into that line of workers and just do a ton of damage. These Marauders are turning around. Oh, and no, these Vikings are going to be able to take out that Warp Prism, so these zealots are all on their own in a scary dark world. I wouldn't want to be them, and Brad OK actually took his time to take out those rocks before coming over. He's apparently very confident that these zealots are not going to do much damage. He was forced to pull all of these off of mining for a little bit, all of these SCVs, and meanwhile, apparently I missed that, Templar Archives going down, and already the Psionic Storm being researched. Let's see, a couple of Templars are out right now, High Templar that is, and we are going to see some storms. These are going to be able to build up enough energy. 75 energy is what they need for Psionic Storm, and they will almost certainly have that by the time that this force comes in. It's a pretty scary force right now. Coming in, we have the +1 going down for both players for the ground weapons and the infantry weapons. A couple of cannons being warped in for DuckloadRa, probably at the backs of his minerals, just to make sure that those Blue Flame Hellions don't sneak in and do too much damage. And that's exactly what they're going to try and do right now. Brad OK moving in, trying to get, probably going to attack in the front and drop these Hellions in the back. DuckloadRa almost certainly sees this, definitely sees this at this point. He has a couple of warp gates, not actually warped yet, and these, oh my gosh, some great angles right here on these Blue Flame Hellions. He did get quite a few kills. DuckloadRa being forced to pull a couple of probes off there. +1 is about to finish, almost barely just in time, and charge going down from that Twilight Council. This is going to be a pretty important engagement right here. We're going to see if there's some storms that are going to be able to get off. Actually, not any Marines, not a single Marine for Brad OK, so that's going to make these storms a little bit less effective, but they still do so much damage to these Marauders. And with only 2 medevacs, they're not going to be able to heal up very well. Those Vikings landing for just a second, a little bit indecisive about what they wanted to do. and the high ground advantage doesn't really help Zealots, obviously, but let's see what is going down. And I love these observers just spread all around the map. A couple of Zealots being warped in here at the top to take care of those Vikings that have landed, and these Zealots really do well against the Marauders because they just don't take that extra damage from that the Marauders do to armored units. So, especially with the charge that's about to finish, we're going to see them probably be able to clean up this entire force right here. And we have a Dark Shrine coming in. DuckloadRa does love to get those Dark Templar out at some point during the game. This is a pretty scary force though, actually. Brad OK running away from his main base, trying to lure the units out, but DuckloadRa just says no, he's just going to go and push the front. And if these units clump up, those Templars are going to get some good storms off. A pretty decent storm, actually hitting a lot of his own Zealots, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter. These units over here are just not moving back. They really need to move back to help out this army. Probes being pulled, or SCVs being pulled, and they're not going to be close. They're not going to be in time. So Zealots are going to clean up all those reinforcements, or at least slow them down. And meanwhile, this expansion would have gone down. So really a nice game coming in from DuckloadRa, using Warp Prisms, using very, very quick High Templar. Usually we never see High Templar that quick. Colossus would have been what most people would have done. And Weapons 2 was coming down, as well as that Kydarian Amulet. And the Ghosts were going to be just a little bit too late for Brad OK. Those Storms are just so good against infantry, even with medevac support. But we really just saw Duckload get ahead in the early game, and he just kept his advantage throughout the entire rest of the game. So, anyway, keep a lookout on my channel, youtube.com/FireXFedTV, for some more shoutcasts. Hopefully I'll be doing some more of those. And thank you so much for watching.